Hi everyone, so I thought I'd just start another new vlog. It's the beginning of a new week since our last vlog. If you're new here, my name is Gemma and me and my fiance James run a vintage reselling business called House of Jamz. And in my last vlog I was talking about different ways that you could potentially upcycle or fix damaged or boring items that you could then resell in your shop just to make them a little bit more interesting. So the reason I wanted to start this vlog is because the piece that I was working on in my last video, which was a little denim waistcoat, I'm actually adding to that just now, so I just wanted to kind of show my progress with that. So this is the piece so far. This is just the front of it, just a plain kind of denim sleeveless vest, waistcoat, whatever you want to call it. So far what I've added is I have added some ribbon and lace along that top kind of shoulder seam, and I'm just in the process of adding some lace to the back seams. So I'm really happy with how it's turned out actually. That's a good thing about denim, is if you're upcycling denim, there's a lot of characteristics of jeans, shorts and things like along the seams that make it a little bit more, easier to upcycle. You're not having to worry about pinning things, making it difficult for it to look super straight and things like that. You can kind of almost just enhance the seams and the features that it already has. So I'm just about to put the last strip on the side that's closest to me of the lace, and then that will be the back section finished, and then I need to kind of decide what I'm going to do with the front. I definitely want to do something around the pockets or above the pockets or something. And then I do actually have some little rhinestones. I'll just grab those just now. I've got a mixture actually. I've got ones that are kind of bigger. So I've got some that are like sort of bigger ones, which I think might be a little bit too big for what I'm wanting to do. And then the other ones that I've got are like these little quite small ones, but there's like bigger ones and then little tiny ones. And basically just using fabric glue and sticking those on somewhere as well. So I do want to make it look quite, when I'm upcycling things, I do like to go quite, not to the extreme, but I want to make it look really obvious that it's been, it's had things added to it and that it's been upcycled. So we've actually made a few sales as well over the weekend. Sold I think our Louis Vuitton wallet, I mentioned that in the last video, got that sent off today. And then we also sold a pair of vintage Dickies jeans, and then also a pair of just skinny jeans that were not vintage, just ones that I was kind of clearing out my wardrobe. So sold a few things, as I said, today, got those sent off. So this week will be a bit interesting because we're actually about to pack up everything in our flat because we're actually getting our flat rewired next week, and we have decided to empty it just to make everything easier. And we've decided, since we're emptying the flat, we have decided to try and get some more work done. So I think I have mentioned just very briefly in the past that our flat, we're in the process of renovating it. So really every single room needs decorated, flooring needs done, new kitchen, new bathroom, everything. So we kind of thought, since the flat's going to be empty, for it being rewired, might as well get as much work done as possible. Things like flooring, which obviously is quite an upheaval. So so we're kind of in the process of organising all that while still trying to do bits and pieces for our business. So our next couple of videos, we're actually going to be filming in our Airbnb that we're staying in. So that will look a little bit different, but that's just, I suppose, the reality of working from home and running your business from home, that kind of stuff obviously does affect, what you're doing. We are going to have to close our shop again, which is a bit of a shame. We were away for a month in January, so we obviously closed our shop for that whole month because we didn't want people ordering things and then having to wait quite a while to get them. So we are going to have to close our shop probably this weekend. So we'll probably have this week, and then this weekend when everything in the house gets packed up, because obviously our stock is here, so that's going to have to get packed up as well. So so that'll all get taken away, so we won't obviously be able to post things. but we are going to try and make use of the time that we're not maybe packing things up and sending things off to do other things for our business. So some of the other things that we're going to be looking at would be obviously upcycling a few pieces. So I'm going to be taking things with us that I can easily upcycle when we're away, just adding gems, just things that don't require like the sewing machine, because that'll have to get packed away, which is a shame. I think we're really going to start looking at our new stock, like ideas for our new stock for our next lot of bits that we're going to buy. So obviously we'll kind of have to time that for when we're probably back in our flat to get it delivered and everything, but it usually takes a little while for all that to go through anyway. So we are going to be looking online, trying to decide what kind of pieces we want to buy more of, what things we're probably not going to touch again, and sort of make a few sort of stock decisions, and as well as obviously film a few videos and stuff like that. So definitely not stopping us from working on our business, just having to tweak a little bit what we're doing. And talking about stock decisions, something that I found quite interesting, I actually mentioned it to James earlier, we have mentioned in our past videos about what kind of brands to avoid and what kind of brands to buy more of. And something that I found quite surprising, as I said, we sold a Louis Vuitton wallet, like purse, really nice, with the monogram print, real leather, vintage and everything. And I don't know if you would be shocked to find out that we actually sold that for less than our Coach wallets. Now, to me, when you think about different brands, you immediately think Louis Vuitton is going to be worth more, people are going to pay more for a Louis Vuitton piece compared to Coach. Even though both pieces were vintage, they're both leather and things like that, so it was nothing to do with the materials as such. But we managed to sell, I think we sold three Coach wallets, vintage ones, nice colours, brown, neutrals and things like that, nice prints on them, all for over, I want to say £30, closer to 40. And then our Louis Vuitton one that we sold that for less than 30, closer to 20. But obviously we did try selling it at a closer price to the Coach wallets, but it just wasn't shifting. And I do think that is potentially because there is so much Louis Vuitton on the likes of reselling platforms like Vinted and Depop and things like that. So I mean, if you look it up yourself, you'll find there is a lot to kind of wade through. Another thing that we noticed, which is when I was looking just on our Vinted earlier on, is how much fake things there are on Vinted, and I'm actually shocked that a lot of them haven't been taken down yet. So I was just looking, and it's not even looking, it just pops up on our homepage, obviously related to the types of things that we're listing, and there were so many Coach handbags that had the Coach logo, Coach written on the bag, Coach written on the packaging. Same with Louis Vuitton, like Louis Vuitton logos I was seeing on purses and bags and things. But then when you actually go to the listing, they don't use the brand name. Obviously in the listing, they're just saying like purse or bag or handbag or whatever. And obviously the brand name isn't in the listing. However, it's still clearly a fake item because obviously it has it written on the item, and it is a fake logo or a fake print or whatever it is. And I think when I was looking at my homepage, out of the sort of 2 rows of items that were there, I want to say there was only one that actually was listed as a Coach bag. Everything else was all listed as a unknown brand or unbranded or whatever, but it was clearly a fake. And yeah, just really, like, the reason why it's so frustrating is because we have listed genuine items on Vinted, and for some reason they've been flagged. Like, we actually listed a Louis Vuitton key holder, which we listed with obviously showing all the logos and everything, showing the labels, showing the zip, not the zips, but the stud and everything to show that it had the Louis Vuitton name on it, showed all the packaging. So it comes in a box, it came with the packaging, the label, like everything. And it got flagged on Vinted as being a fake, a counterfeit. So we appealed it obviously and said absolutely not, it's not fake, we've got all the stuff here, sent off the evidence. I think we've appealed it, I want to say 3 times, and they're still saying that they think it's counterfeit. So obviously we've just kind of left it, we're not selling it on Vinted, it's not worth risking our obviously our shop being shut down or anything like that. But it's so frustrating to see people other sellers selling clearly fake things, and obviously they're not getting, I'm saying they're not getting flagged. They might get flagged obviously in the next few days, but it's so frustrating to see so many fake items, and then we're being genuine and uploading as much as we possibly can to prove that it's real, and then our items are getting taken down. So yeah, a little bit frustrating, but it's just, I suppose is why it's good to sell on more than one platform, because that same item, we've not had any problems on eBay or Depop or anything. So I don't know what's going on with Vinted with that one. They just don't obviously like the look of that one. But yeah, just a little bit frustrating. Hi again. So as you can tell, we are in a very different background, a very different place from where we were. So it's been quite a few days, I think, since I last picked up the camera. We're going to continue the vlog that we started. I actually can't even remember if it's the same week from when we started the last video. As you can see, we've got Chester here in the background. So mentioned earlier in the video that we were getting work done to our flat. So we're not in our current flat, we're actually in an Airbnb just now. This is the second Airbnb where we've been in. So yeah, there's been a few little changes with dates and things. So we were trying to get this Airbnb that we're in just now for pretty much the majority of the time, or all of the time that we needed to be out of the flat, but it ended up the first night it was booked, so we had to go into another Airbnb for just one night. And then we've been in this Airbnb for a couple of nights now, and we're going to be here for another couple of nights, and then we're actually moving on to a third Airbnb. Well, it's not an Airbnb, it's like a short-term let, because we've decided to get some more work done. So we're going to need to be out of the flat for a bit longer. Gosh, she's having like such an issue. Yeah, so as you can imagine, Chester's trying to get settled. Here we go, he looks fine now. Into his new environment and things like that. So yeah, so we're going to be going to a third flat, and that one we should be in for like a whole month. So we'll be a lot more settled there, and we'll be able to kind of, get back into a little bit of a routine. So yeah, just a little bit of an update of what things have been like. So very, living out of suitcases, very all over the place, and obviously trying to make sure that Chester's happy and settled as well, and he seems a lot happier here. Don't know why, but the first flat we went into, don't know if it's because it was like a basement flat. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with flats in Edinburgh, but there's a lot of flats that are they're basically below ground level, and so you have to sort of go down to get into them, and they can be quite dark and things like that, especially in February. So first flat we went into, Chester was not a fan, like at all. He would not settle, and normally he's quite a flexible cat, like he adapts really well to like new environments and things, and you could tell he was quite unsettled, quite distressed, and it wasn't nice at all for him. We were only there for one night, so that was fine, but I don't know if it was because it was dark, and when we got there it was dark as well, so he couldn't really sort of get his bearings maybe. He's a lot happier here, so that's good. This is a first floor flat, and then the flat that we're going into is a ground floor, but it's very nice and light and bright, lots of windows and things, so I'm fingers crossed he'll be fine in that one. But yeah, so just a little update on what's been going on the past few days. So I thought first of all I could share with you my denim vest that I sort of shared at the beginning of the video, the progress I've made with upcycling that. So the back of the jacket is kind of where I left off showing you. So as I said, we've got our lilac bit of ribbon, lace over the top, and then I've used these seams to kind of put lace down either side of them to make the little lace detail down the middle of the back section. And then this is what we've got on the front. So again, I used the seams down the front here to get some lace and just put it down either side of the seams. And then I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do at the top here. I wanted to do something obviously around the pockets and stuff, or around the seams. I did think about doing the ribbon again with lace on top, but then I did a little bit of like an experiment with making ribbon, but scrunching it, making it into a ruffle. So this is actually the ribbon that's on the back, so this kind of thicker ribbon, and I've ruffled it to make it like a lacy ruffle, and then sewed that on. So really happy with how that's looking. I still need to put the gems on, so I don't think I'm going to put gems on all of it. I thought it'd be quite nice to put a few little gems on the ruffles, and then some gems along the lace or something on the back, just so there's a little bit of sparkle, because I do want to make it quite a unique piece. And then this is just what it looks like on. So perfect for spring, summer, with the little ruffle and the lace details. And as I said, I'll add some gems to the ruffles. And then this is kind of what the back looks like as best I can, with the ribbon and the lace. So with us having to close our shop for a little while, obviously because we are not currently in our flat, it's made me think a little bit more about different ways that we can adapt and sell things like through our business depending on what our situation is. So obviously because we're having to put all our things into storage, it means that we have to put our stock into storage as well, because we don't have anywhere else to keep it and we can't really cart it around with us to all, you know, the different places that we're staying just now. So that's obviously a little bit, you know, not ideal. So it got me down the little bit of a rabbit hole of looking into if there's a way to kind of sell vintage, like real vintage items, but through, I don't want to say drop shipping, because I feel like obviously drop shipping's got a bit of a bad rep and everything just now, so it wouldn't be quite drop shipping, but almost so a way that you wouldn't have to necessarily get all the stock, you know, delivered to you and then you store it. So it appears after doing a little bit of research that that's not really a thing like that you can do. Obviously there are different suppliers and vintage, you know, stock warehouses and things like that where you can buy things, but I think there's not really a way for, you know, them to store the items and then for you to then sell the items and then they send it, because I think a lot of the stock, it's not all sort of individually maybe catalogued or not too sure. Anyway, I couldn't really find a way to kind of do that just now at least. However, it did get me going down another rabbit hole of different ways that you can sell items that are maybe, you know, not shifting for you, and not because they're not good items, because they're maybe a little bit pricey. So we mentioned before about certain brands that in the future we're going to probably try and avoid, but not because we don't like them, just because the price points for some of these items are quite high. So for example, the likes of maybe Chanel and, you know, things like that, where they're maybe just a little bit too high for us to try and sell things just now, or for maybe where we're trying to sell the items on the likes of Vinted and stuff, even though we have actually sold Chanel items there, but I do feel like it's a little bit trickier because obviously it is quite an investment from the buyer. So I actually came across websites where you can sell your luxury pieces to these websites, and then these websites then either sell them for you, as in like they list them, and then whenever they sell the item, you then get a percentage of the item that, you know, at the price it's sold for. Or that some of them actually do like a buyout, so they kind of like offer you an amount for the item and then you sell it to them, they take it, and then they then go and sell it. And obviously I'm assuming they'll go and sell it for higher than what they gave you. But if you are a new seller and you're really struggling, to say you have got a few items that you know are really good, they're designer or they're like vintage designer brands, and like us, we just don't have right now, I would say, the audience or maybe the you know, the customers right now to maybe like sell some of these things, or maybe just price that a little bit too high for where we are in our reselling, you know, business. I mean, don't get me wrong, we might still manage to sell some of these things that are priced quite high. We have sold, you know, for example, a Louis Vuitton bag for over £400, and that was, you know, that was great. However, I feel like there's a lot of trust, you know, involved in that, and buyers might just simply not trust us quite yet. Here, called Yugi's Closet, is one of the websites that was suggested to try out. So if we go up to the top here, it actually says sell to us, and it kind of gives you the 4 steps that you would go through. So you would submit your item, and then you have to send off like photographs and things like that of your item. You would then get a quote, and then obviously if you're happy with that quote, you would accept it, and then you would send it to them. They would then do like sort of final checks and stuff like that, and if they're happy with it, then you get paid for it. So we did actually submit, it was a vintage Gucci bag, However, they did say, we got an email saying that they only accepted certain styles of Gucci, of that particular brand. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind, that they might not take everything. However, it is an option if you are, looking to sell something that is a little bit more expensive. So this is some of the designers that they do, like Balenciaga, Burberry. And here we've got things like bags, shoes, clothing. They've got a good selection. Like, we've actually got this red one here, this Balenciaga. We've actually got a grey version of that, but it's like a bigger wallet. So I might try and sort of see, what they say. That might be more of a style that they're looking for. But yeah, I just thought it was a good option if you are, struggling to sell your items. They are a bit maybe quite pricey and it's taking a little while to look for the right buyer. This could be a little kind of option if you're just looking to get it shifted and to get sort of your cash flow going. So this is another website that we came across that does the same kind of thing, called Fashion File. So again, if we go over to either get an offer, or up here where it says like sell now, and it tells you there are different ways that you can sell with them. So you can actually do it online by sending off images and things like that, and sending it off in person. And then it says here private client relations, where they come to you. So I'm not too sure how that one works. And basically the same kind of thing. You send it off, you let them see the pictures and stuff like that, and then if it's something that they'd be interested in, you then get sent, an offer. I know with this one, I think this one is more that they list it on their website rather than just giving you a buyout option, but I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, that's just another thing to kind of check out if you are looking for different ways to sell your items. Yeah, I'm pretty sure with the UGA's Closet, they have a couple of different options, as I said. You could either get a buyout price, which is just a one-off, price, or they can sell it for you. I think Fashion File, it's just they sell it for you. And the only other thing to look at is I did check if they did, because I think they're both based in the US, if they, if you could send things from the UK. And it looks like they do accept things from the UK, but obviously I've not gone through the process, so don't, there might still be issues there. You might have to pay customs or something. I did have a little look for UK based things. So it was Selfridges that do I think it's called Reselfridges, where you can sell them, luxury items, and then I think you actually just maybe get in-store credit. So that might not be suitable for your business, but it's actually just another handy thing to know. So yeah, it's just another option if you, as I said, are struggling to sell quite high price items. If you're struggling to find the right clients or the right customers for the items, it might be a good option to, at least, as I said, get your item sold. You might not be able to get quite as much as what you were hoping for it, but I think sometimes it's more about just getting it sold and getting that cash flow, and then using that learning to then think, right, what brands can I buy that are going to sell a bit quicker? So yeah, I just wanted to share that. I just thought that was a useful little thing to know about. I never even thought about doing that. So I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this week's video here. So if you found it interesting or useful, make sure and subscribe and click on the notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. And we'll see you in our next one, and we'll probably be in another different Airbnb. So bye just now.